All right, Enter Squad, this is our final graph illustrating the annual change in GDP for the United States over time. This graph illustrates that change from 2009 to 2019. As I go through this graph and I highlight the different points in the business cycle, I want you to count how many business cycles has our economy had in the last 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, the end of 2019. So over here, this is the end of the Great Recession, and this is the slowest point in the recession. So we had negative 4% GDP, which means our economy shrank by 4% from the year before. This is a trough. This is the lowest point in that business cycle. Then our economy expands and peaks at over 4% GDP. So in less than a year, our economy starts growing again. So this is the peak. Our economy contracts, and troughs again. Then our economy expands. Sometimes we have these little hiccups and we consider them part of the same business cycle. So our economy peaks here in 2011 at over 4%, which is well above normal range and great economic growth. Our economy contracts and troughs again at close to 0%. Our economy expands and peaks, contracts, and troughs with another low point and negative economic growth at the end of 2013. Our economy peaks at over 5% GDP, a very high economic growth. Our economy begins to contract, and trough again at nearly zero at the end of 2015. Then, what's really interesting is President Trump takes office in 2016, and we've kind of been in one 3-year-long business cycle. So President Trump has not seen the high economic growth that his predecessors saw, like President Bush had economic growth at 7%. President Obama saw economic growth well above 5% during his presidency, and President Bill Clinton oversaw the longest expansion. But to the contrary, President Trump has really only gotten the economy to grow by 3% or less. So he's maintained a more steady and smaller economic growth over time, which runs very contrary to his boasts during the State of the Union address. He does not see that high economic growth, nor is he overseeing the largest expansion in history. That simply is not true. Now, this has been one economic cycle. We know that because of the current pandemic and the coronavirus, our GDP is going to slow. Our projection for 2020 is a recession. So our GDP, we're going to be in negative range in 2020. So I think if we look at our crystal ball, we can say that Trump's highest point in the business cycle is 3%. This would be the peak. We've been seeing a slowdown, and I think 2020 is going to be the trough or the recession. Let's hope that recession does not last for more than 2 years, does not have negative GDP beyond 10%, or high sustained unemployment, or we would risk a depression.